All right, so my name is Danny Rowe. This is for the podcast assignment. My podcast is going to be over the Council for Advancement of Standards in Higher Education. This is a really great tool, and it was founded in 1979. Really is a collaboration with a primary goal to assess and accredit graduate preparation programs. But really, they started focusing on the self-study and self-assessment rather than outside assessment. Today, there are 45 standards of self-assessment guides, which we'll get into in a little bit. There are now 41 members, which we'll go over a short list in a little while. And this is really designed to work with any institution from, community college all the way up to larger institutions or institutions like mine, which are the one that I work at is Texas A&M at Galveston, and we're small. We're about 2,500 students. So it's really neat to see this work being able to span over lots of different institution types. So their vision is setting the standard for quality in higher education. Really, this is how do we help student affairs professionals develop high quality programs and services for the outcome of student learning. Okay. And the mission is the Council for Advancement of Standards in Higher Education is a consortium of professional associations in higher education that promote the use of its professional standards for development, assessment, and improvement of quality student learning programs and service. So really the purpose of CAS, this can be used to design new programs and services. This focuses our time, energy, and resources as higher education professionals. A lot of institution uses it as staff development within different departments. It can also guide strategic planning when you're thinking of outcomes like Texas A&M just is completing their Vision 2020, and we just got announcements of the Vision 2030 that's coming up. So it's really cool to be able to use these types of programs like CAS to be able to really guide those programmings. Also to develop learning and development outcomes within a department and measure your programs and service effectiveness. We're talking about assessment. I mean, really, that's one thing that we can see just quick off the bat is to measure year by year how we're doing and everything. So this is a really important way to do that. So yeah, it's really cool because at Texas A&M at Galveston, for our student affairs last year, we got together and we started doing the CAS standards with three of our departments within student affairs. So we focused on Res Life, we focused on counseling, and we focused on student activities. So that was really cool. We got to take, CAS has 45 different aspects in it, and we were able to capture three of those and really work through them with all of student affairs. So that was really cool. We got to work through those together. So jumping into the list of standards, as you can see here, there are a lot. There are 45 different standards here, and some larger institutions, they might have each one of these, right? Each one of these might be their own department, but for most institutions, departments end up taking on, two or more of these types of things. For my department, we are the Student Diversity Initiatives Office, and it's me and one other professional staff person. And really, we wear the hats of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender programming, the international student programming, multicultural. We do a lot of stuff. We even do some sexual violence stuff, transfer student programs. I think I already said international student programs, but really, I mean, we cover, anywhere from 5 to 10 different programs throughout the year. So we have to look at it in the fact of like looking at multiple different ones. We can't afford to just look at one at any one time. So we actually, we started when we brought on another staff member to really start to do these programs and look at each one of these like every few months, just read through them. The CAS standards, it's a pretty thick book, but you can really read through them pretty easily just to make sure you're on the right page. And I recommend that even if you and your department don't know anything about a specific program, go ahead and read through it. It's nice to see what other people across your campus are doing, right? So the self-assessment guides, these are for use in program reviews. So each set of individual function areas get these. So they're going to be different for each one, but they're downloadable assessment workbooks. They're like $45 for each different. So again, like there's all these standards, and then each one of them have their own SAGs. So this has a similar structure in each one of these. And for the 9th edition, which is the current edition of the CAS standards, the subsections include a list of suggested evidence and documentation, and encourage review teams to collect important materials before rating the criterion. So, I mean, like, this is really cool because it gives you suggested evidence. Of course, you can put in more. When we did ours, we had lists and lists and folders and folders. What we did is we created a Google Doc, and we just kind of all worked together. And then we didn't rate until we had all of our evidence collected. And so we rated as like an internal team, and then we had an external team. So like for our counseling team, they rated themselves, and then we as other members of student affairs were able to go in there and rate as well. And we wanted to see how that matched up. And then we took another year. So that's what we did this summer, is we went over it again, and we saw, okay, did we collect more evidence than we needed? You know, did we help in these spaces that we were lacking? And it really helped us stay on task in the type of programs that we created and the assessments that we were doing. Okay, so you'll see that that each one has the program code, or has the suggested evidence, and then it has the what the criteria is. So it can go all the way from does not apply to does not meet, exceeds, these types of things. Okay, all right. So as far as like what your institution would want to buy, there is the 9th edition of the CAS Professional Standards. And again, this is a really thick book, and it goes over all 45 different review areas, but it doesn't have the SAGs. So you have to buy that separately. But when you're buying the 9th edition, just like you're buying any big textbook, it's always nice to have some kind of supplemental documentation or some ways to work through this in the most efficient way possible. And that's why there is another smaller book called Using the CAS Professional Standards. So if you're looking at implementing this into your programming, make sure you get not only the big thick book, but that you're getting the CAS Professional Standards, the use of book, because this really helps out in what you're doing. Okay. So as far as members, like I said earlier, there's 41 different CAS member organizations, and they are all comprised, and they meet to, you know, have a constituency of over 115,000 professionals. This is huge. This is the biggest type of assessment tool with the most amount of people from inside and outside higher education to make sure that we're all doing, you know, that we're hitting those broad aspects of what is expected from every institution. So each CAS member association sends up 2 representatives to the council. These individuals create, revise, and approve CAS standards. A complete list of the 41 CAS member organizations is on their website. But as you'll see down here, we've got some examples. These are ones that my institution works with a lot. So we've got ACPA, the College Student Educators, NOTA, which is the Association of Orientation, Transition, and Retention in Higher Education, NERSA, the Leaders in College Recreation, NASPA, which is huge. When I went to the NASPA conference 2 years ago, I went in several meetings about the CAS standards because that's what we were doing. So it was really, really neat to see that right there in the conference, that they had specific, like, this is what our institution's doing, this is what we recommend. So it was really cool to see that. And then an example of NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So again, like, this is really cool to see that all of these different members come together. I do want to mention that the member organizations that are in here, none of them are actual higher education institutions. So you won't see like the University of Alabama or Texas A&M or anything like that. We all use that as institutions, but none of us are part of the actual member makeup, because you don't want it to be, you know, all of these tier 1 institute, or like these huge institutions coming together and saying, well, this is what's best for us, and not being able to listen to the smaller institutions. So it's really cool to see that these are all professionals that are geared towards higher education, helping out all institutions. So And a few ways to get involved with CAS. So this is really neat. So as you're going through the assessment, you definitely want to reach out to different people that are doing it, right? So this is a really cool tool. They've got, and I'm going to go through a few different slides here on how to get involved with CAS outside of like just going through and doing the assessment. Again, like higher education, our professionals like to get involved with social media and things like that. So these are a few different ways to get involved with social media. I'm really happy that the Council for Advancement of Standards in Higher Education has taken up that social media aspect. So my favorite thing to use is Facebook. So I was able to go on there. I'm going to go like it, follow it. Again, you can ask questions on their pages and people can respond to you. So that's really neat that you're able to do that. So Facebook's my favorite, but to be more professional, of course, we've got LinkedIn on here. So definitely go follow them. They've got jobs available. Of course, LinkedIn will tell you about all the different available things, but this also updates some of their news on the CAS website. There's like on their actual website, they have a lot of news stories that populate and a lot from the president of CAS. So he'll put out a monthly newsletter and stuff. They also put this out across their social media web site. So whatever your favorite mode of communication, definitely check up on those because that can help you along in the assessment pieces of it, but it can also help you along just getting to know like what should I be expecting when it comes to new updates. So again, we're on the 9th edition of CAS. I don't think we're going to go anywhere for a while. However, if there are any updates for different programming and different advice, they definitely try to do that in between the different editions by posting those things. If you like to tweet a lot, I'm not a huge Twitter person, but I know a lot of my professional coworkers out there are. So they actually have a Twitter as well. So definitely check that out. And then they have Instagram, which is kind of strange. I didn't expect CAS to have an Instagram, but they do. And the one thing that I found on here when scrolling through their Instagram is that they show a lot of professional development. They show what institutions are tagging CAS in their posts so that other institutions know, like, what are you doing in these situations? Are you going out to professional development and using this? Are you going to conferences and using this? So that's really cool. So if you ever go out there to conferences and you're sitting in a CAS standards, workshop, definitely make sure you're tagging them in what you're doing. Okay. And they do have, like I said, that Instagram, but this is actually one of my other favorites, the YouTube channel. I know that my presentation today is going to be kind of short, but on their Instagram, or not on their Instagram, on their YouTube channel, they actually have a lot of really, really cool videos. If you have specific questions about, the SAGs or just the CAS standards, mission, vision, values, everything like that, like this can take you from very simple stuff. So if you are looking to implement this into your programming, and you want to hear like the most frequent, most updated stuff, YouTube's the best way to go to on this. Okay. And what they do is, as you can see here, they actually show this. So this one's the CAS program review and it's 25 minutes long. It's a little long, but if you're looking to do some monthly professional development with your team, your department, these are great to watch. And it's really cool because it's narrated by the actual president of CAS right now. So that's also a really neat way to get involved in that way. And of course, you can always check up on their website. They actually have a really cool email where you can sign up for emails, weekly emails, monthly emails, with just updates on CAS standards. Or if you just want to know what's going on, this is a great way to get involved. So I hope that y'all learned a little bit about the CAS standards, ways to get involved, ways to find information and help yourself through the process. But like I said, we are going through this process. We've been going through it for 2 years at our institution. So if anybody wants to reach out, if they're looking at getting the CAS standards into their programming, into the departments, definitely reach out to me. I love using CAS and we're going to continue to use it. And I'd be excited to see who else in the course uses it as well. All right. Thank y'all for listening.